Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Okay, our second semester class आज टू आरंभ होउची बोधे एटा फर्स्ट क्लास
आज्ञा सर
आरंभ करिवा ना टिके अपेक्षा करिवा आ पिला जॉइन करिवे ओके आ 2 मिनिट अपेक्षा करिवा आरंभ करिवा त हां रत्नाकर बाबू रत्नाकर बाबू नमस्कार सुनि परचंदी
Good afternoon, sir.
गुड आफ्टरनून अच्छा समस्त को रिक्वेस्ट करिवा दरकार होची जे समस्त वीडियो ऑन करंतु वीडियो ऑन कले कोन कि माने पाठ पढारे टे आई कांटेक्ट रहिले भल लागिवो सुनिबा पई एंड इंटरैक्टिव भी हबो तो यदि वीडियो को ऑफ करिवो ताले डल हबो क्लास
सर एक्चुअली वर्तमान ट्रेन रे ट्रैवलिंग करछि सेति पई
अच्छा ठीक
आज्ञा
अछि तार असुविधा अछि तो से ठीक अछि किंतु जो माने अछंती फ्रीली
आज्ञा नै
जते
सर
बडे
मु ट्रेन
चांस
रे ट्रैवलिंग कर सेति पई तो सेति पई वीडियो टा ऑफ करथिले ऑडियो टा ऑफ करथिले सर
नहीं ठीक अछि डिपेंड्स
आज्ञा
करू सुविधा असुविधा
आज्ञा
ऊपर डिपेंड करू नॉट नेसेसरी एटा ओटे मैंडेटरी नो
आज्ञा
किंतु
आज्ञा
हेले से भलो लागियो नाले क्लास टा बोर लागियो डल भी लागियो
हां
सुनिबा की
सर
इच्छा हो
हां सर
अच्छा फर्स्ट सेम क्लास विषय रे तुम टिके ऑफिस सहित कांटेक्ट करिवो केना हमें सब से विषय रे माने तुमको विशेष किछ आईडिया दे परिबनी एटा केबे परीक्षा हबो कोन हबो ए सब दिन से हमें ऑफिस सहित कांटेक्ट करिवो हम पाखे से इन्फॉर्मेशन सब न थाए ये तमर जो तमर हुए तो ग्रुप रो फेसबुक अकाउंट भी थाई पारे करिवे से माने जदी नथियो भी करि पारंती अर्थर भी हेतिला फर्स्ट सेमेस्टर बेले हेतिला सेमते इथर भी करि पारंती बा टेलीग्राम थिबो तांकर गोटे साइट करथिबे जतरे कि तुम कांटेक्ट करि परियो तो ट्राई टू कांटेक्ट विथ द ऑफिस
Yasha Mahant. Sir, good afternoon.
हां गुड आफ्टरनून
Sir, first semester जो class होची जनवरी बैच रे मु जॉइन करची सर एटा सेकंड सेमेस्टर रो क्लास ना फर्स्ट सेमेस्टर रो
सेकेंड सेमिस्टर रो क्लास किंतु फर्स्ट सेमिस्टर रो माने फर्स्ट ईयर रो
फर्स्ट ईयर रो
हां सेकेंड सेमिस्टर क्लास
सर जनवरी सेशन रो
हां माने प्रथम ईयर रो फर्स्ट ईयर रो इट इम्प्लाइज
आज्ञा
सेशन तमर जेबे आरंभ होइतिला से सेशन रो गोटे वर्ष रे दीटा सेमिस्टर अछि ए दीटा
आज्ञा
सेमिस्टर हां नेचुरली एटा सेकेंड सेमिस्टर ता से फर्स्ट ईयर रो
सर ए जो असाइनमेंट्स अछि हमकु इंडक्शन रे कुआइतिला जे यार असाइनमेंट्स हमकु सितंबर रे दबार अछि तो हमर एटा फर्स्ट क्लास तो सेही सेशन रो
हां सेकेंड सेमिस्टर रो एटा फर्स्ट क्लास
आज्ञा सर
तेणु ये सब जिनस जाक टिके डाउट जाक रहुची तुम ऑफिस सहित कांटेक्ट करियो के नाम पाखरे यार डिटेल इन्फॉर्मेशन न थाए जण ताकर ऑफिस रे जेबार डील
आगे तो
करछि किबा ताकर व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप थिबो
आज्ञा
जति ग्रुप रे कांटेक्ट करिवो किबा मेसेज करिवो
सर व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप तो किछि नाही कांटेक्ट नंबर भी नाही किछि
करि पारंती करिवे आरंभ होइछि तो जस्ट आरंभ होला तेणु करिवे दे विल डू
आज्ञा सर
किबा टेलीग्राम गोटे रखिथिबे बोले सेइतरे भी कांटेक्ट करि पारंती तेणु
आज्ञा
हाँ प्रोसेस तुम ऑफिस सहित ना कौन मेरे कांटेक्ट कले दे विल क्रिएट तुम नीड अनुसार दे विल लुक इनटू देयर
आज्ञा
ओके आज आरंभ
आज्ञा सर
करिवा बर्तमान 28 जन हे
थैंक यू
गले
सर
ऑलरेडी आ बस बेसी अपेक्षा करबानी आरंभ करिवा मैं यही माने सेकंड सेमेस्टर रे बर्तमान क्लाइमेटोलॉजी पेपर टी मैं पढेबी तुम ए सेशन रो माने फर्स्ट रे बर्तमान रही क्लाइमेटोलॉजी क्लाइमेटोलॉजी सब्जेक्ट जोटा कि माने वेरी इंपोर्टेंट सब्जेक्ट ऑफ ज्योग्राफी आ एटा भी गोटे इंपोर्टेंट सब्जेक्ट ऑफ एनवायरनमेंट आल्सो तने ए सब्जेक्ट रे तमरो जे आईडिया जते भलो हबो जियोग्राफिकल अंडरस्टैंडिंग के बहुत भलो भाबरे बढ़िबो एंड जियोग्राफी सब्जेक्ट तुमको टिके इजी लागिवो काहे कि ना क्लाइमेटोलॉजी पढिबा द्वारा कोन होची ना वी आर नॉट ओनली रीडिंग द साइंस ऑफ क्लाइमेट आमे ता सहित क्लाइमेट एंड ह्यूमन रिलेशनशिप रो जो जिंस जाक अछि से जाक सब जानिबा गोटे अपॉर्चुनिटी मिलुची एई क्लाइमेटोलॉजी पेपर रे तेणु गोटे फंडामेंटल्स ऑफ जियोग्राफी रो जो बेसिक जिंस रही दिस इज क्लाइमेटोलॉजी इज ए पार्ट ऑफ फिजिकल जियोग्राफी रे हमर जियोमॉर्फोलॉजी पढिथिले ओशनोग्राफी अछि पढा हेनी हबो आगु क्लाइमेटोलॉजी एनवायरमेंटल जियोग्राफी सॉइल बायोजियोग्राफी ये सब जगह फिजिकल जियोग्राफी रो गोटे पार्ट आउ फिजिकल जियोग्राफी दैट मेक्स द फाउंडेशन गोटे बेस्ट सब्जेक्ट जियोग्राफी रो गोटे फाउंडेशन बोली कहै जाय ता ऊपर ह्यूमन एक्टिविटीज ह्यूमन रिलेशनशिप्स ह्यूमन प्रोग्रेस ह्यूमन डेवलपमेंट ये सब जिनसे आसे था इकोनॉमिक एस्पेक्ट्स आसे सोशल एस्पेक्ट्स आसे तेणु दिस इज द बैकग्राउंड टू द सब्जेक्ट तेणु आमको ये जिनसा टिके भलरे बुझिबा पय किंतु एथिरे कोन अछि ना टिके साइंस बेसी रहिछि हमर जनरल जियोग्राफी वाला माने बहुत समय आर्ट्स बैकग्राउंड बहुत आसंती किंतु ये जति की साइंस अछि बुझी हबो कारण हमर हाई स्कूल रो साइंस लेवल रो साइंस रो जो स्टैंडर्ड अछि से स्टैंडर्ड रे वी कैन अंडरस्टैंड द सब्जेक्ट तेणु ताठू अति बेसी गोटे साइंस आड़ को जाऊनी नॉर्मली जीवार स्कोप अच्छी किंतु निया जाएनी कहीं समस्त जब बुझा न पड़ो गोटे जिनस को पढ़ेले पिला माने गेनफुल एंगेजमेंट हबनी तेणु we try to keep the subject in your level of understanding जो मन टिके अधिक जानिबा को चाहिए you have every scope to get into the subject little more into the science of the subject अधिक अधिक जानिबा को चेष्टा कले किसी रेफरेंस बही भलो भलो बही पढिले भी भल लागिवो you will try to find interest in the subject तेणु आम टिके देखिबा हमर जो क्लाइमेटोलॉजी सब्जेक्ट रो कोन अछि व्हाट इज द सब्जेक्ट आ तार ऑब्जेक्टिव कोन तार कंटेंट्स कोन तार कोन कोन चैप्टर्स रहिछि आम कोन जिंस पढिबा को जाउछे इट इज जस्ट लाइक अंडरस्टैंडिंग इफ यू आर रूलिंग ए टेरिटरी यू मस्ट नो व्हाट इज इट्स लिमिट जेमति गोटे जिंस कहै जाय तेमति गोटे सब्जेक्ट पढिबा बोले सब्जेक्ट रो आरंभ कोठी शेष कोठी ए सब्जेक्ट सहित लिंक कार कोन अछि आ ए सब्जेक्ट भितर कंटेंट्स कोन अछि सब जिंस के टिके प्रथम जानिले वी नो द टेरिटरी बोली कहै जाय इट इज जस्ट लाइक अंडरस्टैंडिंग द टेरिटरी ऑफ योर कंट्रोल तेणु आम प्रथम से जिनस के डिस्कस करवा तापर इंडिविजुअल सब्जेक्ट को जिबा मु आई विल कीप इन माइंड टुवर्ड्स ए जो चारिटा सेशन रहिबो वी आर गोइंग टू कवर अप 4 सेशंस चारिटा सेशन रो आज सेशन रे मोस्टली इंट्रोडक्टरी जिनस के गुडा जिनस डिस्कशन हबो आ तापर जो तीनटा सेशन रही ता भीतर इंपोर्टेंट टॉपिक जो जाको कि तम मान को पई टिके अंडरस्टैंडिंग दरकार मोर टुवर्ड्स साइंस एंड अंडरस्टैंडिंग से जिनस किछिटा मु एक्सप्लेन करिवि क्या सब तो 4टा क्लास रे करी हबनी किंतु जो जाक इंपोर्टेंट बोली भाबुची से जाक करबी जदी तुम माने फील करछो जे नै किछटा इंपोर्टेंट अछि सर हमहु डिस्कशन करिवे ताले टिके आगुरु मते ए क्लास हला बेले केतोले कहि देले लास्ट दिटा सेशन रे आई विल ट्राई टू कवर अप दोस प्रथम दिटा सेशन हमें एमती डिस्कस करिवा लास्ट दिटा सेशन रे तमे जदी किछ इंपोर्टेंट जिंस कहइबो से जाक भी आई विल कवर अप and I will see that you have a grip on the subject. But subject over the okay, grip as well. So I am trying my best to see that you have a better understanding of the paper. Okay. Okay, what a PowerPoint achi. Let me share it. Tapare we will progress. PowerPoint देखा गला?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Again, sir.
So we are going to the second semester. Tomorrow MSc degree ro geography subject ro climatology paper title. Course code tomorrow MGG-005 4 credit ro course eta. तेणु आम ये सब्जेक्ट को रखी पार्ट ऑफ फिजिकल जियोग्राफी जोटा कि स्टडी करे अबाउट द क्लाइमेट आउ सिंपल टर्म रे कहबा इट इज स्टडी ऑफ द एटमॉस्फेरिक कंडीशंस ओवर डिफरेंट पार्ट्स ऑफ द अर्थ रो विभिन्न पार्ट रे की टाइप रो क्लाइमेट रहउची एंड काहे की रहउची एंड व्हाई इट इज लाइक दैट ई जिंस का हमको जानिबार स्कोप मिलिबो पेपर रे and understanding the relationship between atmospheric processes and human activities. Atmospheric processes जो जिनसे देखो climate को determine करे, कारण atmosphere रे हमारे जहाँ activities हुए, इसे जगह ही ultimately comes in the form of climate. माने करो if we talk about temperature, if we talk about rainfall, if we talk about pressure, if we talk about humidity, so these are some of the important atmospheric parameters. Which when interact they produce a climate ये सब जगह मिसी गोटे climate produce करंती ता गोटे weather produce करंती तेणु आमर climatology subject रे से जिनसटा जानिबा दरकार हुए that we are trying to understand what are those atmospheric processes and how these are kana खाली science टा को हमें से level रे रखिले हबनी because ultimately geography relates the environment with man and human activities तेणु atmospheric process सहित human activities and human interaction केमती रहउची human man and environment relationship केमती रहउची so that is the minor part of the subject तापर how the climate variation माने होउची across the globe से जिंस भी टिके ता भितरे रहिच we are trying to understand the climatic variation macro level रे macro level माने हमें बाबूचे world level रे जदी country level रे कहबा कि continent level रे कहबा ताले how the climate is vary किंबा जदि हम लोकल लेवल रे भी कहूचे गोटे स्टेट हो बा गोटे डिस्ट्रिक्ट हो बा गोटे पर्टिकुलर एरिया हो ताले से जाके भी केमती जेमती हमें भाबुचे जे हिमालयन क्लाइमेट साउथ इंडियन क्लाइमेट वेस्ट कोस्ट क्लाइमेट की ईस्ट कोस्ट क्लाइमेट की क्लाइमेट इन ओडिशा की क्लाइमेट इन छत्तीसगढ़ और क्लाइमेट इन राजस्थान एमती भाबिले भी बा ताटू छोटो एरिया रो जदि अच्छी दैट इज आल्सो कॉल्ड स्मॉल स्केल्स माइक्रो लेवल अंडरस्टैंड the climatology is a study of climate. It is a science of climate. But आमे किंतु science of climate कहिले आमे ताको आ गोटे word use करू meteorology बोले. There is a subject called meteorology which is purely deals with this science of climate. Science of climate कहवा माने So science of climate कहवा माने what we think of is trying to understand what is the science behind a particular climatic phenomena. The cyclone होउची what is the science behind it. किंबा गोटे atmosphere गोटे particular phenomena देखा गला what is the science behind this. and our gote jagare precipitation la what is the science behind it, so that is one of the important subjects, so which is related to climatology, so seta meteorology ko ajaye, and that is also another subject which also to some extent closely linked with climatology. In the climatology kahiba mane we are less towards science of climate, more towards understanding the pattern of climate, more towards understanding the variations of the climate, more towards understanding the man environment relationship with respect to climate. A aspect jago tike besi ase, science tike kam ase. Jemti ame environmental science and environmental studies, whether there is a difference. Environmental science is a specific branch dealt in science. Environmental studies is a subject which is open to every student from every class. Class 2 to arambha kariki in arts, in science, in commerce, samaste taku padhanti. Jemti it is in the climatology or meteorology, that is the difference. The meteorology it is the science of climate. Into climatology it is understanding the climate. This is our second semester climatology subject. This is what is the background. Then subject what are our objectives? We try to acquire the knowledge of weather and climate. I mean weather or climate विषय जानिବାକୁ चेष्टा करूचे in this subject. And एठी हमକୁ जानिबा दरकार पड़िबो जे weather कोन और climate कोन दिटा के एका जिंस और अलगा जिंस. These are two different terms. They mean also two different things. These are different things to mean करे. Then we have to understand weather, we have to understand also climate. Then I am just weather कथा कहूचे because the objective of the subject is understanding weather and climate. तापर हमको जे atmospheric process ता important component of climatology. Then हमको जानिबा दरकार है structure and composition of the atmosphere. Atmosphere रो गठन केमति है, how it has been structured, how it has been, what is its composition, and how this is responsible for the climate of a particular place. Then ताको link करिया पे हमको जानिବାକୁ पड़िबो atmosphere रो विभिन्न structure and processes which are operating within the atmosphere. तापर हमको जतोले weather and climate कथा आसुची, weather कहवा माने a day-to-day phenomena of sum total of the elements of weather and climate. I mean, then it is called weather. When we talk about weather, we can think of but what is the weather in Bhubaneswar today? What is the weather in Delhi today? What is the weather in a particular place? That is called weather. And weather kahiwa mane it means sum total of the conditions of the atmosphere for a smaller place for a smaller duration of time. That we normally weather will go. तेणु कौन सी जगह कुआ जाएनी what is the weather of Odisha. This is a wrong use of word. If we have to use weather, then we have to use for a particular place and for a particular smaller period of time. But when it relates to climate, we talk about a larger area and over a long period of time. ଏଇଟାକୁ ଆମେ climate ବୋଲି କହୁ. ତେଣୁ we can talk about climate of Odisha, but we cannot talk about weather of Odisha. If we talk about weather of Odisha, then we have to go to a smaller place. So people discuss in that way. So we have to understand that this is what is basic difference. Climate कहवा माने sum total of the weather conditions of a particular region or a particular area or a particular place over a long period of time. Then weather would a short period of time by mean करे, smaller place by mean करे. Climate means a long period of time and a larger area. It has a basic difference in the use of these two words. तेणु आमे जो न्यूज सबुदिने पाउचे हाँ चंदन नमस्कार कौन को बहुत धन्यवाद काम गोटे बस्तु थी माउसी नहांती टिके पटी जाइछन सेठी मु कहि आसले फोन करी गोटे ऑनलाइन प्रोग्राम रे बसछि तो सेते तोरे बेसी कथा होनी संध्या बेले एतले रात्रि आबे लगे तो कथा यूएसए रे बाप रे ओ अच्छा हाँ ना so that is where the difference is weather and climate. Then if you have a doubt again, you can ask me again towards the end of this session. Again, try to understand that in climatology, we are trying to understand what is weather also and what is climate also. And climate ଯେତେବେଳେ କୁହାଯାଏ scientifically ଗୋଟେ 35 years ର average କୁ ସବୁବେଳେ climate ର ମାନ୍ୟତା ଦିଆଯାଇଛି. That is what is that when we talk about climate, at least 35 years ର average situation କୁ ମିଶେଇକି କୁହାଯାଏ this is what is the climate. ତେଣୁ ଓଡ଼ିଶା climate କଥା ଯଦି କହିବା what is the average of the 35 years is implied. କିନ୍ତୁ ଲୋକମାନେ ବହୁତ ସମୟରେ people do not use that. ବେଳେ ବେଳେ 2 ବର୍ଷର average 3 ବର୍ଷର average 5 ବର୍ଷର average 10 ବର୍ଷ ଏମିତି କରିକି ବେଳେ ବେଳେ କହିବାକୁ ଚାହାନ୍ତି ଯେ this is what is the climate of the last 10 years, climate of the last 5 years ଏମିତି କହନ୍ତି. Into that is a use of the word, but scientifically, if we look for any kind of research or any kind of scientific documentation, and we have to use a 35 years of average situation of the weather parameters. Then our atmosphere is climate neiki. We are supposed to understand, acquiring basic knowledge about what is weather, what is climate, and how weather is formed, how climate is formed, how they vary from place to place. With different situations over countries, over continents, over mountains, over plains, over plateaus, over coasts, over oceans. In the both regions, so that is what is our understanding. And whether phenomena with the Koti thunderstorm, Koti lightning, Koti cyclone, Koti various other ways, tornadoes, or any other type of atmospheric phenomena देखु by experience in a day-to-day situation. That is what is weather and climate. The composition and structure of the atmosphere जोटा कि हमको जानने में दरकार क्या weather formation takes place in the atmosphere in relation to the different type of elements and factors which are associated with atmosphere. In the atmosphere में हमारा रही बहुत gaseous subject of substances रही and these gaseous substances they interact. ता सहित रही हमारा atmosphere रे there is envelope of gas which also interacts with the energy which comes from the sun. So there is an interaction of solar energy with the atmosphere. The atmosphere gets heated up. कोई जगह heat हुए, कोई जगह cooling हुए, ऐसे जिनसे सहित विभिन्न प्रकार phenomena associate ही जाए तार पर. That means it leads to the solar insolation coming from the sun falls on the atmosphere. Then atmosphere gets heated up. So we try to take control of that in terms of the temperature, measurement of the temperature of the atmosphere. तापर temperature बढ़ला पर से जाकर low pressure ही जाएगा, heat ही गला पर gas lighter ही जाए, then lighter air moves to the upper part of the atmosphere, becoming lighter. Then when one part of the earth surface is lighter, the other part of the earth surface जो heat कम थी वो से जाकर ही जाए high pressure. Then pressure difference create हुए, temperature difference create हुए, along with the temperature difference. Heating difference प्रथम create हुए, heating difference पर temperature differences, temperature difference पर pressure difference पर और हुए ना high pressure to low pressure को movement of wind starts. तेणु movement of wind start होला पर तापर कौन हुए ना along with the movement of wind, the cloud or the moisture which is available in the atmosphere, which has been evaporated from the water surface, are available in the form of moisture. They also start moving. So those moving moisture is appears to us in the form of clouds. Then a cloud movement होला पर तापर then we try to see that there is various other weather phenomena जोटा कि कोटी वर्षा हुए, कोटी hail हुए, कोटी snow हुए. So these are some of the things. So composition and structure of the atmosphere plays a very significant role. So our climatology सीटा गोटे विषय जानिबा दरकार how things are happening. Therefore, the most important part of climate is understanding the elements and factors of climate and their distribution. Again, climate by weather जानिबा हेले हमको बहुत गुडे एलिमेंट रो टोटल मैनिफेस्टेशन कौन होची ताकू जानिबा पड़िबो. It is just like atmosphere we observe the heat in the atmosphere, which are recorded in the form of temperature. Atmosphere moisture rahe, so we observe in the form of humidity. Atmosphere ବିଭିନ୍ନ ପ୍ରକାର pressure situation create हुए, we observe in the form of measuring the pressure. And ଏଇ ତିନିଟା ଜିନିଷ ଯେତେବେଳେ, these are the three elements of the weather or climate. Climate ଏମିତି କେତେଟା ଜିନିଷକୁ ନେଇକି we have been constructing what is weather or what is climate. ତେଣୁ ଗୋଟେ ଜାଗାରେ ଗୋଟେ particular place ରେ temperature କେତେ, insolation କେତେ ଆସୁଛି. Yes. ମଝିରେ ଯଦି କିଛିଟା ପଚାରିବାକୁ ଚାହିଁବ, you can interrupt. ସେମିତି କିଛି ନାହିଁ, ମତେ ଟିକେ ମାନେ we can take a break and discuss on your misunderstanding or understanding or clarity of things. ତେଣୁ ସେଇଥିପାଇଁ don't hesitate, put your questions in between also you can. ତେଣୁ ଯେତେ discussion ଭଲ ହବ ସେତେ understanding ତମର ଭଲ ବି ଆସିବ. Gradually you will be more involved with the subject.
Sir, please excuse me.
Yes.
Sir, actually, I took admission this year in January 2024.
Okay.
So we haven't received our study materials yet. And you're teaching climatology, but then, sir, we actually don't have the books with us.
But it is available in the website. I think you can get into that.
Okay.
And in the present message also, in the mail also, you have got the link to the course materials.
Okay, sir. So, but actually, to be very honest, I'm a working professional. So, it is very difficult for me to carry the phone around and study. So, it would have been convenient if I had the textbooks. Because, everywhere we work, we are not allowed to use the phone.
No, it's not a question of allowing taking a phone, but there is a link given to you where you can access to the study materials.
Yeah. So, do you
The
suggest me?
The mail which has been given to you must be having a link towards the course materials.
Okay.
So you can go through the
Sir,
link.
can
and
I say something?
download all those things.
Okay.
And
Sir.
if you think of hard copy materials, do you think
I'm
of that?
Sir, actually, the hard copy materials are not yet received to the June 2023 admissions. So we got
Okay.
only 2 books. So
Okay.
obviously
Okay.
there will
Then,
be late.
okay, then you contact with the office. Actually, teachers who will be counselors, we are
So
counselors.
they said that there will be delay in receiving. Even after a year, we have not received the first same books, and the second same is far away.
Okay, I will convey this message to the office. I think they must take care of this, definitely. But simultaneously, you keep contact with the office. You must have some contact numbers or contact mails. Please don't hesitate to contact them. You must be little more aggressive on taking information, giving information, collecting information. You must be little more aggressive. And just like as you put me the question, similarly you can also ask them to see that, sir, we are not getting materials, we are finding difficult to read and complete our tasks and responsibilities. So please send. Somewhere there must be some connectivity with you and through the mails or through the contact numbers, whatever available to you, please use that. But anyway, since it has come to me, I will pass on this to the office. And we'll see that what is the problem, and if any answer comes, I will let you know in the subsequent class. Okay.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, good afternoon.
Sir, what is the difference between heat differences and temperature difference?
Heat difference and temperature difference. Okay, this is what is called science actually. So heat difference is what is heat and what is temperature. Suppose you are holding a rod and the rod is hot. So now what we'll say? The rod is hot. That means there is some amount of heat in that rod for which it is hot. Are you getting my point? Okay, the moment you want to measure this heat, if you want to measure this heat, that how much hot it is, then temperature is one of the measures of that heat.
Okay,
It
sir.
is just like your body temperature that you measure, no? When there is fever, you feel that you are feeling hot. So your normal body temperature exceeds at the time of fever, and you use a thermometer to measure it. So that is what is the temperature measurement of the heat available in your body. And heat is the energy. Temperature is a parameter to measure it. Are you clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So most important part will be the elements and factors of climate. If we have to understand climatology, then we have to understand what are the elements that make together climate. Because it is just like soil. Soil is a mixture of many substances, many minerals, many organic and inorganic substances. It is a mixture. Similarly, this climate is also a mixture of many elements. Altogether, they make a climate. If it is a combination of temperature, combination of pressure, combination of humidity, combination of rainfall or precipitation, and combination of insolation, so many things are there. Together, it will manifest a particular type of climate. That means if I take you to the Himalayas and you feel a cooler climate there, so cooler climate means it is less temperature and then more pressure, then less humidity, more snowfall, less rainfall. So these are all the elements together. So that all together makes that this is what is called cool climate or a cooler climate or a cold climate, we can say. The moment you are entering into Rajasthan desert, you find that yes, the temperature is high, pressure may be low, humidity may be low, and then rainfall is also low, snowfall is very rare, and then any other type of weather activities that you can form. So altogether it will mean that this is a hot climate. So it is a together combination of all these elements. So all elements together, they explain what is the weather of a particular place or what is the climate of a region or area. So we have to understand those elements and how they differ from place to place. If temperature is an element of weather or climate, then how the temperature varies from place to place. Temperature varies at the equator, it is very high. At the tropics, it is still more high. In the desert areas, it is still more high. Then coming towards the temperate region, temperature decreases. Coming towards the pole, again temperature is extremely low. So the temperature goes on changing from place to place. Why? Because the solar insolation that comes over to the Earth's surface is also not equal. It also varies from place to place. It is highest at the equator, lowest at the pole. So that is why poles are colder and the polar areas are having ice. And the tropical areas, subtropical areas are sometimes the world records the highest temperature of the Earth's surface because of the very high temperature and very high heat. So we have to understand those elements, and then we also have to understand the factors of climate because elements do not define only the weather. Sometimes factors also control the weather. Factors control the weather means suppose there are two places. So if we think of like this, think of the highest peak of Dodaveta is the highest peak of South India in Uti. In the same latitude, if you come to the Tamil Nadu coast, so now try to find out what is the temperature at Uti and what is the temperature in the Tamil Nadu coast. You will find a lot of difference, but they are situated in a same latitude. So in a same latitude, these two places are available. The Uti, mountain peak of Uti, that is Dodaveta, and simultaneously in the same latitude, also along this Tamil Nadu coast, along the seashore. But the temperature will be different. Why temperature is different at the same latitude in two different places? So this is the element, but this element differs from two places, from place to place. Why? Because there are factors which are controlling this element. Which factor is controlling? Altitude is the factor which is controlling. Because it is at a very high altitude, the temperature is reducing and a cooling climate is coming up. Because if you go into a higher altitude, temperature gradually decreases. Air becomes rarefied. So holding the heat becomes less. So that is the reason temperature decreases. Whereas if you come to the coast, the temperature will be high because it is close to the shore and then over the surface, not above a very high altitude. So here altitude became a factor. Another important thing, think of Orissa. If you go to Puri coast and if you go to Fulbani on the hills, temperature will be different at a particular time. Why the temperature is difference? The temperature difference is because Puri is near to the sea. Sea means there is a chance of more moist, cool air coming to the land because of closeness to the sea. So this place is likely to be cooler than the place at Fulbani, which is much above the and far away from the sea. So this is how factors also control. So we have to understand what are the elements of the climate and what are the factors of the climate and how these elements and factors act together in formulating weather of a particular place or the climate of a particular region. And accordingly, how these combinations vary over the globe. Because of this variation, actually, we find at different places tropical forest, we find at different places deserts, we find at different places grasslands, we find at different places snow peaks and snow caps. So like this, there are differences, and all the differences are explained through these elements and factors. So we have to understand this as a part of our climate law. Then next important thing that we have to also understand is atmospheric processes. Because these elements which are there and these factors which are associated with the elements, they create some of the processes and circulation or movements that actually bring a type of weather and climate. Atmospheric process means suppose formation of cloud. That is a process of moisture being taken up in the form of evaporation, going above the ground much to the higher altitude, losing temperature, becoming cooler, forming water droplets, formation of cloud takes place. This is a process. And then this cloud also then starts moving with the wind direction in which the wind moves. So again the process of movement starts. This is what is also called as circulation. Sometimes in the equatorial region what happens? Daytime heating takes place, the atmospheric air becomes hot and they become lighter. They start rising to the upper atmosphere, gets cooled, and then falls in the form of rain, and then the vertical circulation of air vertically rising up and then coming down. That process, that is also a type of circulation. So the wind circulation, the cloud circulation movements, so like this, there are different processes which are operating. A cyclone, that itself also is a process. Here the quite a number of elements together mix and create a kind of situation, and the situation leads to the movement or circulation or the process which leads to the cyclonic devastation. So we have to understand the elements, factors, and the atmospheric processes and their movements and the circulations. Then simultaneously, since we are in India, and India is unique for because of the monsoon climate, because India and the adjoining areas are the unique areas of the globe where we feel the monsoon weather, which is unique for this Indian region. And this Indian region monsoon is unique, and for that we have to little more understanding has to come towards what is this monsoon and how this monsoon determines this type of weather, type of climate, and then also the monsoon decides the type of agriculture, type of vegetation, type of human activities across the region where this monsoon wind moves. So we have to understand the mechanism of monsoons, and simultaneously there is also we have to understand the air masses and atmospheric disturbances. Because in the atmosphere there are disturbances are coming up, whether we know in the form of somewhere clouds or somewhere it is cyclones, somewhere it is thunderstorms, somewhere it is tornadoes, somewhere it is whirlwinds, somewhere it is blue, somewhere it is different type of weather situation comes up, atmospheric disturbance. And these disturbances used to occur with the accumulation of air at different places in different forms. And that is what is called as air mass, a mass of air of a uniform characteristics, temperature, pressure, and other characteristics. They behave like a particular set of army, just like you think of in a- okay. Is the slide visible or there is some disturbance?
Visible, sir. Slide is
Visible.
visible.
Okay, okay, but there was some problem here. I thought that probably there is a missing link, but it's all right. So we are going towards understanding this air mass, and this air mass is a kind of mass of air. They interact together to create these atmospheric disturbances. So we call those as mass of air, and these air mass interactions are very important for our understanding. In this way, we will try to understand what is the world climate. What is the world climate means? For the whole globe, what is the type of climate at the equator, at the pole, at the tropical region, at the subtropical region, at the temperate region, or along the east coast of Asia or west coast of Asia, or along the west coast of America and east coast of America, or across the north and south of the globe. So, like this, across the world, how the climate is being formed and how the climate differs from place to place, and how we try to understand the climate in terms of classifications, like tropical climate, arid climate, subarid climate, humid climate, or there are different terms like that we will gradually know. So those things are supposed to be also a part of our understanding. Simultaneously, we will also try to know climate change and other applied aspects of climate. Climate change means the present day contemporary issues which we are facing every day nowadays, global warming, and along with the global warming, there has been a change of climate across the globe at many places, and that we are experiencing all around the year. As you see, the seasons have changed over the seasons which were there 50 years back. Now, no more those seasons are felt. Winters are becoming very less, summers are extending. Intensity of rain is very high at some points, but throughout the year, there is total amount of rainfall may remain same, but the intensity of rainfall at few places will vary. And you also see that we have different type of situations. Just few days back, we had a severe flood in Dubai, the place Saudi Arab desert, and there has been a lot of devastations. And similarly, we had years back there was a severe rainfall and flooding that affected Pakistan to a great extent. And we are experiencing cyclones that we also know very much how it is disastrous. So this climate change is also being manifested across the globe in terms of the change in the elements and factors. Change in the elements and factors are also being experienced along with global warming. So causes are there in science to explain why the climate is changing. How, what is the role of man? What is the role of industry? What is the role of deforestation? What is the role of various other activities that is being taken up by the human being towards climate change? Because changing of climate is a natural phenomenon. It's nothing unnatural. But the way the climate is changing now by human activities has been a matter of concern. So people are now concerned about the human-induced climate change because the kind of carbon dioxide emissions that we are making to the atmosphere is creating a greenhouse effect. By greenhouse effect, the temperature of the globe is increasing, and once the temperature is increasing, what you can imagine is we may feel somewhere hot as we are feeling, But when the temperature is increasing over the ocean, it will collect a lot of moisture. Over the land, there will be a lot of heat. Over the sea also, when there will be a lot of heat, there will be a lot of moisture. So when there is a lot of moisture available at a particular time, then that may create a lot of devastation also. Anything excess is sometimes goes towards a adverse situation, like more rain is flood. Similarly, more cloud is cyclone, or more kind of differences in the temperature and pressure may be leading to different type of wind and wind related devastations. So there are extremes. So the climate change has been one of the manifestations of the present day situations that we are also trying to understand. And what are the applied aspects of this climate? That means how it is related to agriculture, how it is related to industry, how it is related to water resources, how it is related to human economic activities. So other things are there also, quite a lot of things. So like this, on the subject of climatology, which is a part of our physical geography, is going to acquaint us right from the understanding the type of insulation that we are receiving from the sun, the kind of atmosphere in which it is passing through, and the interaction of these atmospheric processes, atmospheric elements, and the heat that is coming from the sun together, and how the weather is created, how the climate is created, and how the processes are different, and then how different type of weather activities are coming up, and then how the patterns of climate are being characterized by their different attributes across the globe. So this is what is a basic understanding of our climatology. So gradually you will know many more things that will slowly come through the courses, and when you pass through your study materials, you will come through this. So, so in this paper, you are having 5 blocks. In this paper, your 4 credit course with 5 blocks, and these 5 blocks are the 5 sections. Section 1 is fundamentals of climatology. And in this fundamentals of climatology, you will be introduced towards understanding what is weather, what is climate, what is climatology, what is meteorology, what are the differences, what is atmosphere, what is introduction towards the atmospheric processes, atmospheric activities, atmospheric composition, atmospheric structure, atmospheric and temperature variation, and like this, something more about that. So this is what makes the fundamentals of climate. That will be dealing in this block 1 or the section 1 of your paper, and your study materials are designed accordingly. So there will be 5 important study materials, and those study materials will discuss on this. So in this section, again, you will have a number of units. We'll go subsequently, but in section 1, these are the fundamentals of climatology. Section 2 is atmospheric processes. So process starts with insolation. That means insolation means incoming solar radiation. Incoming solar radiation means the solar radiation which is coming from the sun comes over to the earth's surface, passing through the atmosphere, which is the main source of energy in driving the climate. So climate is driven by this insolation, which is the source of energy. So insolation and heat balance, that is actually the driver of the climate. So we are trying to know something about that. Then we are trying to understand these elements and factors of climate in terms of temperature, pressure, and humidity, and wind direction, wind velocity, types of precipitation, and then the general atmospheric circulation pattern, how the air movements are taking place, wind and their movement, wind velocity, wind direction, and then all those things, because they again relate to the climate in terms of the movement of clouds, different types of clouds again. So like this, we are trying to know most of these atmospheric processes. So fundamentals of climatology, first section. Second section is our atmospheric processes. So this atmospheric process will make you understand about the basics. So these 2 sections will make you the fundamentals of climatology very clear. Then we will come to the atmospheric manifestations. How these are manifested over in the form of climate and the extreme weather phenomena. So the section 3 is devoted towards atmospheric disturbances. Atmospheric disturbance means which we understand in a way that if there is a normal weather, we don't call it a disturbance. But when the weather is abnormal, we call it as a disturbance. Wind moving at a 10 kilometer speed is not a disturbance, but the moment it attains 100 kilometer, it is a disturbance because it is going to create devastations in terms of somewhere it will make the tree to fall, branches to break, or somewhere it will also lead to the houses to strengthen the houses to take away the roofs. That is a disturbance. Similarly, normal rain of 40 inches is not, or 20 inches or whatever it is not a very disturbing phenomenon. It is a normal phenomenon of weather. But the moment all of a sudden severe rain takes place and beyond the carrying capacity of a particular place, and then the entire city or the entire place or the entire river basin is under flood because of so much of water has come by the rain that it is no more in the capacity to carry on and flow through the available channel system. So this is what is becoming disturbance. Similarly, the thunderstorms is a type of disturbance. Tornado is a type of disturbance. Or Lu and Andhi that we feel in North India, that is a kind of disturbance. So like this, we have different type of disturbances associated with our weather and climate that we are trying to understand. So where we are trying to understand also the type of humidity, type of precipitation, type of monsoon weather and monsoon phenomena and the origin of the monsoons, air mass. And then along with the air mass also there are some scientific components of understanding of how air masses interact in terms of the fronts and then cyclones. So all these are a part of our understanding of the atmosphere disturbance activities, normal weather, and this is abnormal weather. And then the fourth one is our climatic classification. So based on different type of elements of weather, based on different types of factors of climate and weather, people have tried to understand in terms of what is the climate of a particular place. Suppose you are interested to go to a particular place for a visit in a tourism activity. So what will be your interest? Your interest to know that what is the climate of that particular place first. So you will try to understand that suppose I am going to Dubai. I have a plan to visit Dubai. So immediately it has to struck your mind that what is the climate of Dubai normally. The climate of Dubai means what is the average climatic situation of that particular place. So the moment it is the climate, it will come that this is a hot climate area. This is a hot climate area where the temperature will be remaining around 40 degree or near to that almost every day without any winter. So this is what is a kind of situation. So that, but simultaneously when you are visiting in a particular time, in a particular period of 3 days or 4 days of a particular date, then you will try to understand what is the weather of that particular place in those 4 days. You will look to the weather forecasting of that country or from the world network of weather forecasting that what is going to be the temperature, rainfall, humidity of that particular place during your 4 days of visit. Because they are also available in the open sources through this Google search or any other places of weather phenomena. You can know that what will the weather means, what will the temperature, what will the rainfall, what will the sunshine, days duration of sunshine, what will be the wind characteristics, because that will make you prepare accordingly what sort of clothes you will carry, what sort of your movements will take place at that particular place, and where to live and how to live. Can you live in houses without AC or can you have to use only AC rooms? So accordingly, you have to take a lot of decisions. So depending on that, so understanding climate, understanding weather is important not only for this small purpose of tourism, but for a larger purpose of global climate understanding, global phenomena of different type of activities that takes place in agriculture, pasturing, in forestry, in industrialization, so many things. The climate has become one of the important concerns. So understanding the climate in general, that what is equatorial climate, what is tropical climate, what is temperate climate, what is polar climate. So like this, people have tried to understand these climates through different type of classification. So we will try to understand also the same type of classifications, how the people have adopted, and say something about the climate of a particular place. So there are few classifications which are there. Classification by open classification by Thorndike, climatic regions of the world. That can we divide the world into uniform climatic areas? This is what is climatic regions. In geography, the word region is a very important term. The region means when we say the coastal region means an area along the coast which is characterized by the coastal characteristics. Desert region, an area identified in terms of the desert weather characteristics, desert economic activity, desert phenomena. Similarly, the mountain climate or the alpine climate of the Himalayas. So like this, we are trying to understand the different type of classifications. That if we classify what type of climate will be in China, what type of climate will be in USA, what type of climate will be in South America, or at a particular place in Brazil or Paraguay or Uruguay or like this, you have a understanding. So that is how the climate classifications you are supposed to know something about that. This is the fourth block, the fourth section. Then fifth section comes to explain you about the contemporary issues, means the issues to which we are facing now in terms of climate change and variability. How the climate is fluctuating, how the climate is varying from place to place, from time to time, over the years, how it is varying, over different places, how it is varying, then how it is changing also across the globe, and then how we are trying to understand this weather in terms of forecasting, observation, monitoring, and forecasting. And that is what also we call it as applied climatology, how it is applied to our day-to-day phenomena. So this is where we are trying to understand these five important components: fundamentals of climatology, atmospheric processes, atmospheric weather phenomena, atmospheric disturbances, climatic classifications, contemporary issues of climate. Contemporary means the present or current issues, what goes with the climate. So these are the five important sections. So your study materials are organized in these five different components. So you will get the study materials in these five groups. Now we'll move to individual blocks. So in the individual blocks, you will find a number of units. So block 1 is fundamentals of climatology. And in fundamentals of climatology, there are 3 units. And these 3 units are, unit 1 is introduction to climatology, unit 2 is weather and climate, unit 3 is introduction to atmosphere. So these are the 3 important units. So what details we are studying here in this units, you get into the details of the subject that is being transacted. Okay. So in this unit 1, we are trying to understand meaning and scope of climatology. What is this meaning of climate and weather, and then what is the scope of this subject? To what extent we call it climatology, and beyond that, what is meteorology, something like that. Development of climatology as a subject, how it came up, what is climatology, meteorology, what are the differences. Then different scales of climatology. Different scales means different types of climate and climatic characterizations. And what are the sub branches of climatology? Different sub branches within the subject. So like this is a fundamental introduction to climatology. Then second unit is weather and climate. In weather and climate, we are trying to understand what is weather, what is climate. Yes, any question from our students?
ଯୋଉଟା ଅଛି ଫାର୍ଷ୍ଟ ୟୁନିଟରେ ଅଛି କ୍ଲାଇମାଟୋଲୋଜି ଆଣ୍ଡ ମେଟ୍ରୋଲୋଜି ସେ ମେଟ୍ରୋଲୋଜିରେ 4ଟା ସବ୍ ଡିଭିଜନ ଦେଇଛି ସେଇଟା ଟିକେ ବୁଝେଇଦେବେ
କଣ again meteorology ରେ
4ଟା ସବ୍ ଡିଭିଜନ ଅଫ ମେଟ୍ରୋଲୋଜି ଦେଇଛି ଗୋଟେ ଦେଇଛି ଡାଇନାମିକ ଗୋଟେ ଦେଇଛି ସିନୋପ୍ଟିକ ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ଫିଜିକାଲ ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ କଣ ଅଛି ମୋ ମନେ ନାହିଁ ସେଇଟା ଟିକେ ବୁଝେଇ ଦେଇଥାନ୍ତି
ହଁ ଠିକ ଅଛି ମିଟରୋଲୋଜି ରେ ତମର ଚାରିଟା ଯୋଉ ଦେଇଛି ମାନେ ପ୍ରଥମଟା କଣ କହିଲ ସବଜେକ୍ଟ ଡାଇନାମିକ ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ
Dynamic, then physical,
ହଁ
then
ଫିଜିକାଲ ଠିକ ଅଛି
synoptic,
ଆଉ
and
ଗୋଟେ
then
ସିନପ୍ଟିକ ସିନପ୍ଟିକ
hmm.
ମେଟ୍ରୋଲୋଜି ହେଲା କଣ ତମକୁ ତ କହିଥିଲି ପ୍ରଥମେ ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ଚାରିଟା ଜିନିଷ ଆସୁଛି ମୁଁ ଆଉ ଥରେ ଟିକେ ନେକ୍ସଟ କ୍ଲାସ ବେଳକୁ ତମକୁ ବୁଝେଇବି କାହିଁକି ନା ଆଇ ୱିଲ ଗୋ ଇନଟୁ ଦି ଡିଟେଲ୍ସ ଏବେ ଖାଲି ତମକୁ ଷ୍ଟ୍ରକ୍ଚରଟା କହୁଛି ତେଣୁ ସେଇ ଅନୁସାରେ ଚାଲିଛି ଠିକ ଅଛି କିନ୍ତୁ ଏବେ ଯେହେତୁ ପଚାରିଛ ମେଟ୍ରୋଲୋଜିର ଚାରିଟା କମ୍ପୋନେଣ୍ଟ ଭିତରେ ମୋଷ୍ଟ ଇମ୍ପୋର୍ଟାଣ୍ଟ ହେଲା ଯୋଉଟା ସିନପ୍ଟିକ କ୍ଲାଇମାଟୋଲୋଜି କାହାକୁ କହିବା ମେଟ୍ରୋଲୋଜି କାହାକୁ କହିବା ମାନେ ମେଟ୍ରୋଲୋଜି ଇଜ ଦ ସାଇନ୍ସ which is ନା ସବୁ ଜିନିଷରେ ଜାଣିଛ ତମେ ସାଇନ୍ସ ଇଜ ବେସ୍ଡ ଅନ୍ ଅବଜରଭେସନ ସବୁ ସାଇନ୍ସ ର ଗୋଟେ ଅବଜରଭେସନ ଅଛି if you go to chemistry there is observation through chemical reactions in the laboratory if you go to zoology then there is observation in dissections of the different animals if you go to the plants and botany then also you find dissections and then find out the structure of the cells and various other things ଯେମିତି ହୁଏ ସେମିତି କ୍ଲାଇମେଟ କୁ ଅଣ୍ଡରଷ୍ଟାଣ୍ଡିଂ ପାଇଁ ଆଉ କ୍ଲାଇମେଟ ର କ୍ୟାରେକ୍ଟରାଇଜେସନ କରିବା ପାଇଁ there are measurements of different parameters of meteorology जोटा कि सेही parameters of weather and climate जहाँ parameters of meteorology भी सेया but the interpretations and the working is आमे जदि पढुचे साइक्लोन रो इफेक्ट कोन हला meteorology वाला पढुचे साइक्लोन origin केमति हला how the temperature interacted how the moisture interacted where the moisture formed how much moisture and temperature they interacted together what was the dynamism in सेही जगह हला science of understanding the meteorology तो सेठी पई ताकर दरकार हुए measurement of different parameters there is a different parameter of measurement and their interpretation and manipulation ताकू कहा जाए synoptic climate जहाँ को weather forecasting रे यूज करा जाए सी हला dynamic meteorology हला that is another subject branch of meteorology where try to study जेमती हमें वर्तमान ଗୋଟେ एग्जांपल दउची हमें ଗୋଟେ समय रे जानि नथिले एलनिनो ଗୋଟେ फेनोमेना अछि जो फेनोमेना की हमरो क्लाइमेट को अफेक्ट करे से जो एलनिनो फेनोमेना जेतबेले आसिला सेतबेले समस्त जानि नथिले एलनिनो कोन थिला तेणु डायनामिक मेट्रोलॉजी हला कोन माने हमें गोटे समय रे गोटे टाइप रो माने थ्योरी को नै कि हमें प्रोग्रेस करूचे अंडरस्टैंडिंग जे मॉनसून क्लाइमेट एमती काहे की हुए तेणु गोटे समय रे थिला नॉलेज थिला जे मॉनसून क्लाइमेट काहे की हुए कहिना खरा दिन आसिले लैंड बहुत जोर हीट ही जाए ओशन रे ठंडा थाए because of the cooler climate of the oceans and the hot climate of the land because of the heating moisture bearing winds used to come from the sea to the land and that brings a lot of rain and the monsoon climate comes up but subsequently see jo theory thila that theory has changed over in course of time in the 21st century in the new millennium that is no more this theory that exists to explain why monsoon is fall now the people believe that the monsoon is controlled by the southern hemisphere weather phenomenon southern hemisphere climatic phenomenon southern hemisphere empty kichi hoji something is happening which is bringing the monsoon weather in India ei jo jinsa dala this is dynamic meteorology yaku kha jaye dynamic meteorology where it looking to different kind of theorizations and different type of possible permutation combinations in creating different orders synoptic climatology it is dynamic climatology आ गोटे ला basic understanding जो जाको physical climatology meteorology physical meteorology जो कि also a part of our understanding of the weather and climate so जहाँ हमें use करू that itself is a kind of understanding that is called physical meteorology एमती रही छी I will discuss little more in detail ଯେତେବେଳେ କି part को आसीबी in the coming class I will explain little more details एटो सबुट important ला just जेमती पचारलो वर्तमान गोटे question as you ask this question similarly I will request all our student participants to make out their questions and leave us so that your doubts are clarified during these 4 sessions this is very important so as I got this question that means it is important for some of our understanding which I will try to explain little more in details And similarly, you please try to find out what are the difficult terminologies and what are the difficulties in understanding the different concepts of this climatology, so that our classes becomes useful for you in the discussions. Because I will think of what is important from my point of view, but it is more important when you think from your point of view what is more important, that will be more relevant for you. So I will be happy to interact with you through those questions which you will be asking, and I will try to answer those things and clarify your doubts. Okay. So climatology and meteorology, then scale of meteorology, subfields of climatology. Sorry, no, you discussed that. Then weather and climate, difference of weather and climate, elements of weather and climate in details as we discussed, factors and controls of weather and climate. Then introduction to atmosphere. So when it starts with introduction to atmosphere, origin of the atmosphere, evolution of the atmosphere, then what is the composition of the atmosphere in terms of the different gases. Then what is the structure of the atmosphere, then the different layers of the gases that is available. And then classifications of the atmospheric structure or the layers depending on temperature, chemical composition, how the layers are being differentially identified or differentially classified. So this actually builds up the fundamentals of your climatology. So knowing about the subject, knowing about the scope, knowing about its components, knowing about the branches and sub-branches, knowing about weather and climate, knowing about the elements and factors, knowing about the atmospheric structure and then atmospheric interaction of these. So these are some of the things which are taken as the fundamentals of climate. So this will actually empower you or bring empowerment in you in understanding the subject for the further phenomena of climatology, which is important. If you are weak in this area, other areas the understanding will be difficult. If you are better in understanding these fundamentals, all other components of climate will be, you will feel little relatively easier. Okay. So this is the block 1 where we are dealing with, these are some of the detailed chapters. So here some of the important, what is most important is, suppose these are all, everything is being here, but most important is elements of climate, understanding weather and climate is most important. Elements of the factors of weather and climate, that is most important. Then structure of the atmosphere, vertical structure of the atmosphere and temperature structure of the atmosphere. Atmosphere has two different composition is there. Then vertical structure like layering structures like troposphere, stratosphere, ionosphere, mesosphere, exosphere, like this there are structures. And then how the temperature changes through this atmosphere. So these are the core areas of this fundamental part. Everything is there, but these are the 4 important sections of this particular unit, which is relatively very important for you. So you can take note of this, that these are some of the important things. First is understanding the weather and climate. Second is understanding elements and factors. And third is understanding structure of the atmosphere, vertical structure, and temperature variation across the atmosphere. So these are the 4 most important things that comes in this block 1 and these 3 units. Coming to block 2, atmospheric process. So do you like to take a 5 minutes break? Can any of you tell, would you like to have a 5 minutes break? I think that monotony will break continuously. 2 hours sitting may be little relatively boring at the beginning. Okay, can anyone respond?
Yes, sir.
Should we go for a 5 minutes break or should we continue? I think 5 minutes break will be good for you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just 5 minutes relaxation, then we'll again start. But let the screen remain as it is. Just think of, because you need time also, you need space also to think and what to ask and what to discuss. Okay, so in the next 5 minutes, so we'll take a break and then I will again start.
ସାର୍ ନମସ୍କାର।
Namaskar.
ସାର୍ ଗୋଟେ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନ୍ ଥିଲା ସାର୍, ଯୋଉ OCS ଏକ୍ଜାମ ଉପରେ ଥିଲା, ଆମର ଓଡିଶା ସିଭିଲ ସର୍ଭିସ ଏକ୍ଜାମ ସାର୍,
Acha.
OS ଏକ୍ଜାମ ସାର୍, ପେପର 1 ରେ ଭଲ ସ୍କୋର ହଉଛି, ପେପର 2 ରେ କାହିଁକି ସାର୍ ସ୍କୋର ହଉନି? ଯେତେ ଭଲ ଲେଖିଲେ
ପେପର 1 ରେ ଭଲ ସ୍କୋର ହଉଛି, ପେପର 2 ରେ ହଉନି ନା କଣ କହୁଛନ୍ତି?
ସାର୍ ଲାଷ୍ଟ ଇୟର ସାର୍ ମୁଁ ଇଣ୍ଟରଭ୍ୟୁ ଦେଇଥିଲି 2023 ରେ। ପେପର 1 ଜୋଗ୍ରାଫି ମୋର ରହିଥିଲା 196, ପେପର 2 ସାର୍ ଟାଣି ଟୁଣିକି 148 ମାତ୍ର ରହିଲା।
ଭଲ ହେଇନଥିବ ଆନ୍ସର, ତାହେଲେ କଣ ଗୋଟେ ଟିକେ କୋଉଠି ଗୋଟେ ଡ୍ରବ୍ୟାକ୍ ଥିବ
ନାଇଁ
ନିଶ୍ଚୟ।
ସାର୍, ପେପର 2 ଭଲ ଲେଖିଥିଲି ସାର୍।
ନାଇଁ ମାନେ ଭାଲୁଏସନ ଟା ତମ ଉପରେ ଡିପେଣ୍ଡ କରୁନି ନା, ତମେ ଭଲ ଫିଲ୍ କରିବାଟା ଆଉ ଏକ୍ସାମିନର ଭଲ ଫିଲ୍
ଆଚ୍ଛା
କରିବାଟା ଦେयर ଇଜ ଏ ଡିଫରେନ୍ସ।
ଆଜ୍ଞା
ତେଣୁ
ସାର୍।
ତମକୁ, ତମେ ଯାହା ଲେଖିଛ ସେଇଟା ତମ ଏକ୍ସାମିନରକୁ ସୁଟ୍ କରିଛି ବୋଲି ସେ 196 ଦେଇଛି।
ଆଜ୍ଞା
ହଁ, କିନ୍ତୁ ସେଇ ସ୍କେଲରେ ସେଇ ଏକା ଏକ୍ସାମିନର ତ ଦେଖୁନି ନା, ଦେयर ଆର୍ ଡିଫରେଣ୍ଟ ଏକ୍ସାମିନର୍ସ।
ଆଜ୍ଞା
ତେଣୁ ହ୍ୟୁମାନ ଫ୍ୟାକ୍ଟର ବି ଅଛି, ଏପିଲିଂ ଫ୍ୟାକ୍ଟର ବି ଅଛି। ତାପରେ ଆମେ ବେଳେ ବେଳେ ଭାବୁଛେ ଆମେ ଭଲ ଲେଖିଛେ ବୋଲି, କିନ୍ତୁ ବେଳେ ବେଳେ ଭଲ ହେଇନଥାଏ, ଯୋଉଟାକୁ ଆମେ
ଆଚ୍ଛା
ବି
ସାର୍।
ବେଳେ ବେଳେ ଜାଣିପାରୁନା।
ଆଜ୍ଞା
କିମ୍ବା ଏମିତି ବି ହେଇପାରେ, କିମ୍ବା ହ୍ୟୁମାନ ଏରର ବି ହେଇପାରେ, ମନେକର ତା ମାନେ ଏକ୍ସାମିନର ସାଇଡରୁ ବି ଟିକେ ମାନେ ନେଗ୍ଲିଜେନ୍ସ ହେଇଥାଇପାରେ, କହିହବନି।
ସାର୍
ଓଭରଲୁକ୍
ସାର୍
ହେଇଥିବ କିଛି ଗୋଟେ ପଏଣ୍ଟକୁ, ଯଦି ଓଭରଲୁକ୍ ହେଇଯାଇଥିବ, ମନେକର ଆପଣ ଭଲ ଲେଖିଛନ୍ତି କିନ୍ତୁ ଗୋଟେ ଓଭରଲୁକ୍ ହେଇଯାଇଛି କୌଣସି ପ୍ରକାର, ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ ୟୁ ଡୁ ନଟ୍ ନୋ, हवा कथा तो नुह
Okay, okay.
एग्जामिनर इज सपोज टू बी नॉट टू ओवरलुक दैट किंतु मेजॉरिटी ऑफ केस रे मिस करे एंड आमे भाबुए भलो आउ किंतु रिजल्ट मिले खराब मोर गोटे पर्सनाल एग्जांपल कहूची मु पोस्ट ग्रेजुएट पढ़ला बेले जो पेपर पढ़ौची माने सबटु मोर इंटरेस्टिंग पेपर थिला जियोमॉर्फोलॉजी जोटा कि पेपर नाम सेमेस्टर 1 रे पढ़ौथिली काउंसलिंग रे थिली से पेपर रे मते मिलिथिला मु आई एम द फर्स्ट क्लास फर्स्ट स्टूडेंट ऑफ ऑनर्स एंड पीजी गोल्ड मेडलिस्ट
सर
किंतु सेही पेपर रे मोर पीजी रे थिला 27
अच्छा सर
एंड देयर वाज नो रीजन टू बिलीव भी करि पले सेतबे पण दी जण एग्जामिनर थिले हमर सिस्टम रे हमर सही समय रे थिले दी जण एग्जामिनर देखिबे दी जण का एवरेज मार्क हे कि मु दिया जाऊ डबल एग्जामिनर सिस्टम थिला हमर टाइम रे एंड आई secured 27 in that paper PG grade but in spite of that also I stood fast because I had so good in other papers किंतु से पेपर रे 27 रहिला काहे की सेतबेले हमर एते आइडिया नथला जे पेपर मगे की देखिबा ए सब जिंस करिया से समय इट इज ए स्टोरी ऑफ 1975
सर
तेणु 50 वर्ष तळर कथा किंतु माने आई कुड फाइंड आउट ए रीजन तेणु तक कोन कहबा सो देयर आर सर्टेन थिंग्स व्हिच आर बियॉन्ड अस तेणु बेले बेले सेति हमें भाग्य को विश्वास करू एथि पे बोली जेते आंसर मिलेनी आंसर जेते बेले मिलेनी आमे सब करिवा सत्वे भी सेते बेले बिलीव करू जे प्रोबेबली वी आर नॉट डेस्टिन्ड आई एम नॉट डेस्टिन्ड तेणु दुटा दिन सही पारे either the answer is not appealing to the examiner तार कोन गोटे भाबी नेला माने गोटे वे रे जे नाही आंसर जागा ठीक हो किबा जति की व्यापार आपण भाबुचन सेति भाबरे ठीक न बोली से भाबी की कम मार्क देथिबे एटा होची मैक्सिमम किंतु गोटे प्रोबेबिलिटी बेले बेले भी रहउची जोटा कि समस्त केस रे हबनी किंतु केजण केस रे हे जाई पारे ह्यूमन एरर
सर
तेणु से जिनसटा डिपेंड करूची विभिन्न एग्जामिनर देखुचंदी खाता की केमि भाबरे देखुचंदी की को माइंड रे देखुचंदी की को स्पिरिट रे देखुचंदी की को प्रॉब्लम भीतर आसी देखुचंदी को सिचुएशन रे देयर आर मेनी अदर फैक्टर्स आल्सो जेमति कहली एलिमेंट एंड फैक्टर्स ऑफ क्लाइमेट देन इट बहुत फैक्टर अछि किंतु से जगह सब मिनिमम होबा कथा शुड बी लेस देन 1 then 100% ରୁ 99% ଯଦି इवैल्यूएशन प्रॉपर हो 1% लेस देन 1% से और जगह आसीबा कथा तेणु सेटा हमें सब बेले भाबिबा इपट साइड जे आंसर टा अपीलिंग हिनी एग्जामिनर वो तो आपण लिखि चंदी ठीक रे
आया
वो तो सही आंसर आपण लिखि कि नेक्स्ट तरह हो तो 8 अधिक भी पाई परंती दैट इज आल्सो पॉसिबल माने को सही आंसर टा को रेप्लिका करके आपण लिखि परंती किंतु वो तो भलो मार्क मिल जाई पारे गोटे सिचुएशन टाक आपको टिके एक्सेप्ट करिया पड़िबो तेडो भाबंतु जे आपण भलो लिखि नांदी कि आपण भलो पढि नांदी कि आपण आंसर खराब हेछि आपण आंसर भलो थिबो बट सम ऑफ द परसेप्शन ऑफ द एग्जामिनर हैज गॉन बियॉन्ड यू आपण गोटे अलग परसेप्शन हे जाइछि आउ सीटा हबा पे बोली आपण जते गोटे जिंस होउछि you need to also re-examine yourself आपण भी भाबा दरकार जे कोनटा ट्विस्ट करथिले आ टिके अपीलिंग हेई पारि थाता that you can think of a change मोनोटोन हे जाइछि कि आंसर रे गोटे प्रॉपर्ली विविड माने विविड एक्सप्लेनेशन नाही कि देयर आर सम ग्रे एरियाज जोटा कि माने रहि जाइछि आपण भलो जिंस सब लिखि चंदी कि 4-5टा पॉइंट छाडी जाइछन जोटा कि एग्जामिनर मन को आसी गला जी भलो लिखि तो कि एग्जाम के लिखिनी तेणु आपण भी टिके इंट्रोस्पेक्शन भी करिवा दरकार तेणु भाबन सब्जेक्ट खराब हेछि कि आपण प्रिपरेशन खराब अछि किबा मार्क कम मिल गेला बोली जे आपनकर स्टैंडर्ड कमी जाइछि से नो इट्स नॉट लाइक दैट इट्स ए चांस तेणु आपण टिके इंट्रोस्पेक्शन करिवे इंट्रोस्पेक्शन भीतर जहां आपनकर बेस्ट आसीबो दैट यू कैन अगेन रेप्लिकेट इन द सब्सिक्वेंट एग्जाम्स करिवे डोंट माने बैक ट्रैक बा आपण गोटे फ्रस्ट्रेशन आनिबा दरकार नै जे आपण भलो लिखि नांदी बा लिखि कि मते देलिलानी सेटा नुवा इट शुड बी पॉजिटिव आपण गोटे पॉजिटिव माइंडसेट रे इंट्रोस्पेक्शन करी कि आगु को जीवा दरकार वेदर यू मे रीएस्टैब्लिश जे आ लिखिसंती ठीक अछि आठो बेटर हेई परिबोनी किबा जहा लिखि जे ट्विस्ट करले वो तो आउट की बेटर हे जाई पारे एग्जामिनर को अपील करी पारे ए जिंस आपण भाबबा दरकार सर ओके
थैंक यू सर
ज्योग्राफी थी सब्जेक्ट नहीं
सर
ज्योग्राफी सब्जेक्ट थिला
हाँ सर ज्योग्राफी
अच्छा अच्छा कहीं नहीं जंदे वर्तमान अपन कौन करू जंदे व्हाट आर यू डूइंग
सर एक्चुअली सर ମୁଁ ଟିକେ ଆମର ଯୋଉ କମ୍ପିଟିଟିଭ ପିଲାଙ୍କୁ ପଢଉଥିଲି ସର ମୁଁ
अच्छा
ଆଉ ଏ ଓଏସ୍ ପାଇଁ ଗୋଟେ ଥିଲା ମାନେ ଡ୍ରିମ୍ ଗୋଟେ ତ ଦେଇ ଲାଷ୍ଟ ଇୟର ଇଣ୍ଟରଭ୍ୟୁ ପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ ଯାଇଥିଲି ଆଉ
अच्छा
ଏ ବର୍ଷ ଏତେ ଭଲ ହେଲାନି କାହିଁକିନା ଫାଇନାନ୍ସିଆଲ କଣ୍ଡିସନ ପାଇଁ ଟିକେ ଭଲ ପରଫର୍ମାନ୍ସ
କୋଉଠି
ହେଇପାରିଲାନି
ପଢଉଛନ୍ତି
ମେନ୍ସ
ଭୁବନେଶ୍ୱରରେ ନା
ହଁ
କୋଉଠି
ସାର୍ ମୁଁ
ବାହାରେ
ଲିସାସରେ ପଢଉଥିଲି ସାର୍ ଲିସାସ ଆଇଏସ୍ ଆଉ ସେଠି ଜିଓଗ୍ରାଫି ବି ପଢଉଥିଲି
अच्छा
ରିଜନିଂ ପଢଉଥିଲି ଦିଟା ସାର୍
हाँ ठीक अच्छे जा तो गोटे एक्टिविटी तो करवा कथा आपण करचंते आ को पढिचंती आ
ଆଜ୍ଞା
पढैचंती माने निश्चय आपणकर टिके ग्रिप थिबो सब्जेक्ट ऊपर कोन टिके मिस
ସାର୍
करिछि टिके देयर इज सम
ସାର୍ Sir, is there any another way to remember Coppen's classification, Thornton's classification, sir?
बुझि पालिनि कोन
I read
कहला
it
तू
many times. Sir, is there any easy way to remember Coppen's classification and Thornton's classification, sir, of climatic classification?
हम अच्छी टिके माने आपणकर इजी माने किछि तो नै माने पता लागण कि आपन जदि गोटे अंडरस्टैंडिंग आसी परिबो ताहाले
Sir,
जिनसटा मन होइबो से अंडरस्टैंडिंग
sir,
आसी पे आपणकर गोटे टिके इन्वॉल्वमेंट दरकार जोटे टिके क्लमजी होउची जिनस जाक बेसी गोटे जिनस इन्वॉल्व
sir,
होउची
sir.
बेसी गोटे एलिमेंट्स एंड फैक्टर्स सिंबलाइजेशन इन्वॉल्व होइची तेणु आपण गोटे
Aye.
फॉर्मूला रे जिबाकू पड़िबो फॉर्मूला रे
Sir,
गले
sir.
देयर आर मेनी बेटर अंडरस्टैंडिंग्स
Sir.
तेणु सेई जिनसटा बेले बेले हेल्प करे आमे गोटे जिनस को
Aye.
नरेशन रे जिबा कि गोटे फॉर्मूला गोटे बेसिस रे जिबा बेसिस रे गले कोन कि स्टेप बाय
Sir.
स्टेप से ऑटोमेटिक चलिबो तेणु मु
Aye.
किछि जिनस डिस्कस करला बेले आपण यू कैन गेट द स्मेल ऑफ दैट
Sir, sir.
ओके ठीक अछि
Thank you,
okay
sir.
we will
Thank
now
you very
come
much.
to I will come to this atmospheric process रे हमर चारिटा यूनिट अछि देयर आर 4 यूनिट्स फर्स्ट यूनिट हला इंसुलेशन एंड हीट बैलेंस देखो the सब्जेक्ट जाकर लिंक केमति रही छि यूनिट जाकर लिंक केमति अछि आपण गोटे सब्जेक्ट को देखिले प्रथम तीनटा यूनिट थिला गोटे थिला फंडामेंटल्स रो इंट्रोडक्टरी पार्ट अंडरस्टैंडिंग व्हाट इज क्लाइमेट व्हाट इज वेदर व्हाट इज जिनस थिला सेकंड पार्ट थिला व्हाट आर द एलिमेंट्स एंड फैक्टर्स ऑफ क्लाइमेट असी जिनस थर्ड रे थिला एटमॉस्फेरिक स्ट्रक्चर थिला अच्छा तापर वर्तमान आसीगला देखो एटमॉस्फेरिक स्ट्रक्चर जानला पर वर्तमान आसीगला एटमॉस्फेरिक प्रोसेस को जथरे कि वर्तमान कोन हला ना एटमॉस्फेयर हाउ हीट दैट कम्स फ्रॉम द सन और द इंसुलेशन तार केमती इंटरेक्शन एंड द कॉज ऑफ द क्लाइमेट आसुची वर्तमान यूनिट 4 रे insulation and heat balance because that is the driving force of the entire climatic system the climate system ta dynamic hi rahi chi because of the insulation of the incoming solar radiation which varies across the globe seita globe ro upare from equator to the pole it is varying from place to place from east to west from north to south and from mountain to plain and from coast to mountain and सब देखले जहाँ भी देखिबा there is a variation and এই जो insulation variation हिसाब रे आସୁଛି so it is creating different patterns of heat the different patterns of heat create करिया भितरे how the global balance is maintained and then how this heat is transferred into different type of processes एटा insulation रे sun as a source of energy total input केते total output केते total input जति आସୁଛି से माने एटमॉस्फेयर को केते जाउची ग्राउंड को केते आସୁची evaporation केते पळौची पुनी बैक टू स्पेस केते पळौची जहा आसला सोलर इंसुलेशन या सोलर इंसुलेशन रे तीनटा कंपोनेंट गोटे कंपोनेंट हला जेतले एटमॉस्फेयर को आसिला आसिबा पूर्वरु किछि बैक स्कैटर हेकी पळेला पुनी स्पेस अर्थ पूर्व आसिला किछि अर्थ रे वर्तन आसी कि एटमॉस्फेयर एब्जॉर्ब हेकी रहिला आउ किछि वर्तन अर्थ रो एटमॉस्फेयर रु बाहरी आसी ग्राउंड पर आसिला तेन एटा हला इनकमिंग तापर आउटगोइंग जति के आसिला अर्थ को एटमॉस्फेयर को आसिला प्लस ग्राउंड को आसिला ता भीतर ग्राउंड रे केते एब्जॉर्ब होला केते पुनी फेरिकी गला ई तापर एटमॉस्फेयर जति के एब्जॉर्ब होला सी पुनी केते फेरिकी गला आ सहित कोन मिसी गला वर्तमान जते गछ पत्र सी जति किछि हीट छाडु जंती से जाको किछि मिसिला कि आमे जो हीट छाडु जे से जाको किछि मिसिला हमर हीटिंग हमर कूलिंग हमर जो से जाको मिसिला प्लस ग्राउंड रु किछिटा रेडियोएक्टिव एनर्जी जोटा कि अर्थ रो कूलिंग एनर्जी जोटा आसुची अर्थ रो ग्रेजुअली कूलिंग होची ना कूलिंग हेबा पर तार जो इंटरनल हीट अछि तार एनर्जी किछि भी आसुची तरे ए सब एनर्जी मिसी की पुणी फेरिला एटमॉस्फेयर देकी स्पेस तरे ई जार बैलेंस केमती हिची जेमति आपनकर इनकम और एक्सपेंडिचर बैलेंस करा जाय बैलेंस शीट जेमति व्हाट इज द इंसुलेशन हीट बैलेंस ऑफ द अर्थ सरफेस इंसुलेशन कराइछि यूनिट 4 तेणु एथिरे सेटा टिके बेसिक अंडरस्टैंडिंग दरकार समस्तंकर और that explains how energy is distributed and how energy is interacting with the different components of the atmosphere. तापर insulation पर next important element हला हमर केना heat जतबेले हला object temperature is been the record of the heat. Temperature is our manifestation हला so temperature across the globe again starts varying from place to place depending on the variation in the insulation. Then heating cooling process पुणी आसीगला of the atmosphere could heat हला cool हला land could heat हला cool हला ये सब यही process आसीगला then यार measurement तापर पुणी horizontal temperature distribution कोन हला over the globe vertical temperature in the atmosphere vertical temperature distribution रो variation कोन हला तापर याकु केमति भाबरे मेजर करा जाउची याकु केमति भाबरे मैप रे डेमोन्स्ट्रेट करा जाउची को फैक्टर जका को अफेक्ट करू which factors are affecting this temperature. Then what is the general pattern in winter? What is the general pattern in summer? All these things, and along with that, our ketata important component rahichi process bhitere understanding the lapse rate, adiabatic lapse rate, normal lapse rate, inversion of temperature. These are some of the peculiar phenomena of the temperature related phenomena in the atmosphere. We are supposed to understand that. Unit 5 and with relation to temperature. Temperature बढ़िला परे बा कमिला परे गोटे एरिया ऊपर then the pressure also goes on increasing or decreasing जोटी temperature बेसी हला सेठी low pressure हला जोटी temperature कम हला सेठी high pressure हला so temperature response रे insulation रो response रे temperature vary कला temperature response रे pressure vary कला पर हमको जानिया को पड़िबो over the globe how the pressure system is developing and how the pressure system is varying from pole to pole and from equator to pole or from east to west or north to south, whatever you may mean, but how it is varying. And horizontal distribution of temperature same the horizontal distribution of pressure and pressure systems, pressure belts. Accumulate pressure or the pressure belt system is that is what is also our understanding. The vertical distribution of atmospheric pressure that is also to be understood. It has a pressure system, temperature system leads to pressure system. Pressure system leads to atmospheric wind. Pressure variation pressure variation automatically movement of wind starts from high pressure to low pressure. Water tends to move from the high altitude to low altitude by under the force of gravity. Similarly, in the same way, depending on the pressure gradient from high to low, the air also starts moving in the atmosphere. Then each atmosphere movement wheel. So that is what is we call it as a wind movements. wind movement our global pattern रे हमर किछटा रही planetary winds जो permanent आउ किछटा रही periodic winds जगह की गोटे particular seasonal wind ही आसे आउ किछटा रही हमर local winds local situation रे विभिन्न जगह रे it appears. Then how these wind movements are taking place and along with that हमर the wind movement को नहीं की what are the unique things normal देखिले pattern रे move करू but there are unique circulation systems on the globe in the atmosphere at different places in the equatorial zone in the subtropical zone in the temperate zone रे हमर रही छि बहुतरे circulation system काहे global distribution भितरे within the distribution pattern that across the globe at different places there has been a concentration and cell type of circulation has started developing. And that those are called as the particular tropical and a particular type of cell structures of the atmosphere. Like equatorial, hamara rohichi Walker circulations. And there are few more also, which will be in the context of those discussions. I will tell you something, and I will touch some of the important things which will be actually required for you. Okay, easy things I will leave because if you read, you can understand. But there are certain complications in the understanding which I will try to focus in my discussion. Okay, then pressure system for as a wind system, different types of winds and the meridional circulation system, the jet stream circulation system, seasonal wind circulation system, all these things are to be dealt with. And atmospheric process. Can I our result, the result of these elements are going to explain about the climate. Whether it is a hot climate or it is a cold climate, whether it is a dry climate or it is a wet climate, whether it is a equatorial climate or a tropical climate. Like this, there will be different types of interpretations, which will be in combination with the different type of weather parameters or the elements and factors. So block 2 will be dealing with these atmospheric processes, carrying these 4 units. Then we are coming to atmospheric disturbances. So the processes are of two types: normal processes and disturbing processes. Normal processes will give us normal weather, to which we are normally understand through the classifications. But when it comes to disturbing weather, means it is not normal. So you can understand very well what is normal and what is abnormal if you think of wind velocity. If you think of temperature, what is normal, so long as you can tolerate, that is normal. So long as you are not in a position to tolerate, then it becomes heat wave and it is abnormal or extreme. Similarly, the atmospheric disturbances are a kind of extreme processes that is coming up. So there are 4 units again here. First unit is in this block, unit 8, that is humidity and precipitation. This humidity and precipitation, temperature leads to pressure, pressure leads to wind, and then wind leads to movement of moisture. And this moisture actually available in the air is the most important villain in the entire weather process and climate process. So long as moisture is not there, the weather is always stable. So long as the humidity is not there. So the moment humidity comes into the atmospheric process, then the atmospheric weather or the climate becomes a problem. It is just like in the film, when there is a villain, there are some of the disturbing activity that takes up by the villain. Similarly, the weather also, the climate also, if the humidity comes into picture, then the weather starts behaving abnormal. Because what happens is humidity remains in the form of water vapor. And this water vapor remains in the form of cloud. And when it remains on the ground, we call it as fog. When it remains in the upper atmosphere, we call it as a cloud. And when it remains over the places with a lot of hygroscopic nuclei, carbon dioxide, gases, pollutants, then it is smog and mist. So like this, humidity creates different type of situations. And these different type of situations leads to the moment the humidity becomes more in the atmosphere, the weather will be unstable because humidity carries a lot of heat. It is just like when the water is converted into vapor at 100 degrees Celsius, the heat generated at 100 degrees Celsius is converting the water into vapor, so the vapor carries that heat. But where that heat is there, that heat goes from the water to the atmosphere in the form of moisture. Along with that, heat is there carried. This heat is carried from the ground to the upper atmosphere. Upper atmosphere is supposed to be cooled by the process of radiation. But when this water vapor goes to the top, carrying the heat, naturally in a cold area again the heat is coming up. So there is an interaction between the cold situation and the heat situation. So when a lot of cloud combines, a lot of heat is accumulating and a lot of heat is released by the condensation process of the water vapor in the atmosphere, the cloud condensation. A lot of heat is released, that is what is called latent heat. And this latent heat released in the atmosphere, in the upper atmosphere, again heats up the atmosphere at that height where the latent heat is released. and further evaporation takes place. And again, the air is lifted to the upper atmosphere. So this lifting process continues to a long distance within the troposphere up to the stratosphere. So that actually creates a lot of disturbance. So like this, across the globe, across the surface of the earth, humidity is one of the very important factors of weather disturbance. When the humidity is relatively low, the weather is stable. When the humidity is very high, weather is unstable. And humidity ultimately comes in the form of precipitation. And precipitation comes in the form of varieties of precipitation forms. It may come in the form of rain, it may come in the form of cloud, it may come in the form of hail, it may come in the form of snow, it may come in the form of drizzle, it may come in the form of dew, it may come in the form of various other forms of sleep. So like there are various forms of water vapor condensation. All these things are taken up as a part of the humidity and precipitation process or condensation process in the atmosphere, leading to formation of different type of situations with fog, formation of cloud, formation of rain, formation of snow. All these things are formation of hails like this. So this is what is understanding about our humidity and precipitation process. Okay. Then comes to our understanding the monsoon. As understanding some Indian monsoon system, monsoon weather system, role of jet streams. That is a type of circulation in the atmosphere. That is called upper air circulation. Because we have ground circulation system, we have upper air circulation system. We have also vertical circulation system. So this is how this meridional circulation systems are called vertical systems. So then also we are trying to understand how the El Nino La Nina factor, ENSO and El Nino La Nina, and in the Indian Ocean dipole system. That is what is the new concept which is also coming up. We will discuss those things at the subsequent sessions. Then in the atmosphere, when this air movement takes place at a particular place with a homogeneity of temperature, pressure, and humidity, mass of air accumulates in the atmosphere. And thus mass of air that accumulates carry the characteristic of the source of origin, that from where this mass is generated. Suppose a mass of air is originated from the ocean, so it will carry the heat and moisture. Suppose a mass of air is originated from a desert area, from Sahara desert, so it is obviously supposed to carry the heat only, there is no moisture. Suppose that is a air mass, it is hot, and this is a air mass which is humid and cool. So a cold air mass and a hot air mass, when they will meet in the atmosphere, in the upper atmosphere, it is just like on a hot plate in your kitchen, if you put water, the kind of bursting that takes place, a similar kind of situation takes place in the atmosphere. Disturbances are coming up. So this is what is called air mass interactions, air mass modifications. So that will lead to some kind of disturbing activities and simultaneously modification of the air mass, property change of the air mass, exchange of property between. So this is what is air mass, meaning and definitions, source of origin of the air mass, and then different types of air mass, classification of air mass, distributions, then the thermodynamic conditions, and then interactions. Then next comes the fronts and cyclones. So when these air mass, two air masses meet, they are called as the fronts. So when the fronts develop, normally it leads to the development of cyclone. But normally the fronts are developing in the temperate cyclones. But when the cyclones are developing in the tropical region, in our Southeast Asian region or those countries, the mid-tropical, subtropical region, they are called as tropical cyclones. They do not develop fronts because the fronts are developing in the temperate cyclones, because temperate cyclone has interaction between two one cold air coming from the pole and the hot air or the warm air going from the oceans. They meet over the temperate region in the upper atmosphere, the cold air and the hot air or the warm air. So there is a different type of the front where they will interact each other. But our tropical cyclones, they develop as small cyclonic low pressure systems. And these low pressure systems gradually grow with more energy collections and then expanding its cloud cover area, then moving over the oceans, picking up more and more moisture over the oceans. Over the land also occasionally development of cyclone takes place, but they do not remain for long because they do not have adequate water vapor and energy available in the system. So that's why I call you that humidity is the most important variable in when the cyclone comes up. No, the humidity is almost near about 100%, 99%, 100%, even more than that sometimes. So that means the cloud is ready for condensation and formation of rain. Simultaneously, there is a lot of heat generation, also latent heat generation. That may again disturb the entire cloud system. So like this, so we are supposed to understand these different types and cyclones, and cyclone types, formations, temperate cyclones, different type of cyclonic classification, depressions, deep depressions, cyclones, storms, severe storms, and then super cyclones like this. Then block 4 is climatic classification. Here is a very complicated process of understanding because very often people find it very difficult to understand because it is little cumbersome, needs a little bit more of understanding and then remembering a number of important terminologies which will be coming for the classifications. So that's why it is difficult, not that it is difficult to understand. It is difficult, it is easy to understand, but difficult to remember sometimes. So you need a kind of understanding with a particular process. So approach to the climatic classifications, climatic classification of Köppens, the scientist, German scientist who has developed this classification. Vladimir Köppen is the name of the person. Climatic classification of Thornpet, he is another scientist. He has a different type of classification. What is the differences? And climatic regions of the world. Can you look at the climatic regions? Just like our geographic regions, mountain region, plain region, plateau region, just like India has three regions. Himalayan mountain system, Indo-Gangetic plains, peninsular India, three different regions. So that is a kind of concept. So similarly also in climate also you have a different type of concept of the world's understanding of the climate. So then comes to the fifth block, that is the contemporary issues. We discuss about climatic classification, atmospheric disturbance, atmospheric process, and then fundamentals of climatology, introduction to climatology. That is block 1, then block 2 is this 4, then block 3 is this 4 again. And then now come to block 5, 16, 17, 18, 19, these are 4 again. So in this 4 we have climate change and variability. Why climate is changing over the globe? Is it a natural process of change or it is a human induced change? Or it is some other factors which are responsible for the change. We try to understand what is the role of global warming, what is the impact of global warming on climate change, what are the adaptation mitigation measures for climate change. Should we call it a climate change or should we call it climate variability? What do you want to say? Appropriate terms. There has been an institution that has been instituted by, you know, that is called United Nations Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC. So who is looking and taking care of this climate change over the globe and sensitizing the people and the governments across the world. What are the factors responsible? What are the causes responsible for? And then how to go about it? All the things are coming. That will be little discussed over here. Then human-induced climate change, that is atmospheric pollution, global warming and its impact on climate change, adaptation mitigation measures. So these are the two units which are coming relating to climate change and variability and role of man in climate change. Then unit 18 is and 19. These are two applied climatology units. The 18 is weather forecasting. So how the weather is being forecasted? What is the definition, significance of weather forecasting? What are the tools? What are the parameters? What are the instruments used for forecasting? What are the different methods adopted by the country and our Indian Meteorological Department? What are the different weather forecasting processes? And what is weather forecasting process in India specifically? So this is what is we need to understand that. Then unit 19 comes applied climatology. This applied climatology, how to collect climatic data, how to use climatic data, how to use the climate and natural systems, climate and water, climate and biodiversity, climate and social systems, climate and agriculture. So how the climate is driving many of these phenomena across the globe. So climate and tourism, climate and health, like this, how the climate is related to all this, that is what is applied climatology. So we are going to discuss something about this. So these are the 5 important blocks that you are reading in. And to my knowledge, the materials which they have developed, because I am also a part of material development team from Delhi Center, and you are getting the best materials available as far as the materials are concerned, with much more details of things available, much more than the books, but they come in the form of study materials, but they are more resourceful than the books also. So if you think of not reading any other book or only confining to this also will be sufficiently helping you in preparing for the examination. But simultaneously, what happens? Getting into some of the books beyond the study materials will bring your insight towards some new ideas, new concepts, new ways of expression of things, new diagrams, new charts, new, that we can call it as conceptual frameworks. So like this, something new will come. It is just like now, in an occasion you put on a new dress. Similarly, a new book is a addition to this, your normal formal dresses or formal course materials. So it will always inspire you with some new books. So please try to, if you are very much keen on that, please try to get into some of the books. There are a list of books are given in this paper, but I am highlighting few books that you can think of. Look at this. Out of 10, I have chosen 2 most important one. One is Savindra Singh's book Climatology, available in our normal bookstalls. D.S. Lal Climatology, that is also. These are all 2 Indian edition books suitable for our purpose. But I will also advise you to go beyond the Indian edition, because the way of presentation of things are a little different from the foreign authors. So I will advise you to go into this Physical Geography by A.N. Streller and A.H. Streller. This is a book. This is also available in our ELBS edition. That means low cost editions available. If you get the low cost edition, it is in black and white. If you get the real edition, in color edition, it is, the book is so vivid and so beautiful that you will never like to miss this book. So even if you don't read it, try to see at some library or somewhere what is the book and how the materials have been discussed and delivered there in this particular book. And this is very much relevant to your this climatology, because there are, it's a physical geography book, contains many things of geography, physical geography, which contains oceanography, which contains geomorphology, which contains climatology also. But you will find very interesting portion of the climatology here in this book. So try to see this book at least, if not many more. And then there are sites, PG Pathshala, there are climatology course materials are also there that you can refer. So like this, and this is another foreign author book, J.H. Critchfield, General Climatology. That's a good book also. So you can think of looking at these, if not all these 3 or 4 will be very important for you. Another important thing is, here is a book called P.K. Das, 1987 Monsoons. This is an NBT publication available in a low cost. This book only deals with monsoon, but it's relatively difficult to understand, because the only book on monsoon that provides you a vivid description. And this P.K. Das was one of the directors of the Meteorology Center at Calcutta some time back. He's not Korean, he's Bengali. But the book has been published from MBT, in the name of monsoon. If you are interested, you can read. If you are a little more interested about understanding the monsoon system, because you don't get any book on monsoon system. And for understanding monsoons, you can go into some of the Geography of India books where the climate is discussed, and in that section also there are monsoon climate descriptions that you can refer. I think this is where we are going to end this session. There are 4-5 minutes. I hope you can give your feedback now. What do you feel, and then how do we go about in the next sessions, and what will be your important query areas? If some of you can speak something. Okay. Any of you would like to speak something? Okay, don't feel shy to speak about, don't feel shy to ask, feel comfortable to ask. Because these are the only time where you are getting somebody to discuss with you, with your problems on the subjects. So don't feel shy to ask. Anything on the subject that comes to your mind.
सर असाइनमेंट जोड़ा लेखिबो 10 मार्क्स जोड़ा लेखा है जी सेटा केते केमती कोन लेखा जीवो केते पेजेस लेखा हबो से रिगार्डिंग टी डाउट अछि सर
क्वेश्चन तो आपन को डायरेक्ट माने रहिबो ना, देयर विल बी गाइडलाइंस फॉर द क्वेश्चंस.
सर एक्चुअली मु बीएड करी छी माने गवर्नमेंट रे मु गवर्नमेंट रे ऑलरेडी बीएड करी छी तनो बीएड रो असाइनमेंट जेमती लेखा जाय सेमती लेखा जीवो ना सर अलगा किसी लेखा जीवो सेटा टी
मु तो बीएड करनी तेनो जानि नहीं कि नॉर्मली आपन जदी देखि जंती if it is a 20 mark question, it is supposed to be a long question. If it is a 10 mark question, it is supposed to be a short question. Then you try to keep your mind open in these two forms. There may be some questions which will be short, there will be some questions which will be long, and there may be some questions which are objective. And each tinita concept upon janto, I think that will be best guiding you.
Okay, sir.
Then kichita topic asibo, that will be suppose understanding, telling about a monsoon, origin of monsoon. It cannot be a short question because it has to at length describe many things. So it will be a long question. So if such a question is there, you think of. କିନ୍ତୁ ଆପଣଙ୍କର ଯୋଉ ଆସାଇନମେଣ୍ଟ ଦିଆ ହେଇଛି ଯୋଉ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚନ ତା ଭିତରେ କିଛିଟା ଲଙ୍ଗ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚନ ବି ଅଛି ଆଉ କିଛିଟା ସର୍ଟ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚନ ବି ଅଛି ତେଣୁ ଆପଣ you have to take a decision depending on the extensiveness of the content, simultaneously the instruction of the question instruction भी ବେଳେ ବେଳେ ରହୁଛି. Somewhere it is written that write short notes or somewhere it is just describe or define like this. କିନ୍ତୁ ଏଠି ତ ମାର୍କ ରହୁନି ନା, you do not have a mark in your assignments. ନା ଅଛି ମାର୍କ?
ଅଛି सर 10 मार्क्स रो फर्स्ट ए सेक्शन में 10 मार्क्स रो 4टा क्वेश्चन अछि तापरे बी सेक्शन में 10 मार्क्स रो 3टा क्वेश्चन अछि तापरे सी सेक्शन में 5 मार्क रो 6टा क्वेश्चन अछि सर.
ताले then 10 मार्क क्वेश्चन रे आपण 3 पेज खंडे करंतु आंसर 3 पेजेस. हाँ 10 मार्क रो क्वेश्चन रे 5 मार्क क्वेश्चन रे आपनकर 1.5 पेज रो 2 पेज रो लेस करी करंतु. So that it caters to ultimately this is a practice. And इतरे आपण टिके भलो रे प्रैक्टिस करथिले आपण को it will be making you easy for the final examination. Please also see simultaneously the final examination question pattern. That could be also this is a new course. It was it has started, so probably you don't have questions.
Okay.
So you have to face the examination for the first time. ତେଣୁ ତ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନ୍ ମିଳିବନି ତେଣୁ ଆପଣଙ୍କୁ you have to go by this ତେଣୁ 5 ମାର୍କ ମାନେ it is a very short answer 10 mark mane this is also going to be a short answer. 20 marks is absolutely long question of about 5-6 pages. ତେଣୁ ଆମେ 10 ମାର୍କ ହେଲେ 3 ପେଜ କୁ ଲିମିଟ କରିବା, 5 ମାର୍କ ହେଲେ 1.5 ପେଜ କୁ ଲିମିଟ କରିବା। এই ଭାବରେ let us move। କିନ୍ତୁ ଗୋଟେ ଜିନିଷ ମନେ ରଖିବେ ଜିଓଗ୍ରାଫିରେ most of the questions may require diagrams, annotations, conceptual linkage diagrams of frameworks and maps। এই ଜିନିଷ ଯାକୁ ମିସ୍ କରିବେ ନାହିଁ। These are all very important component of your answers।
ଆଜ୍ଞା ସାର୍।
ମାନେ you may compromise on writing few sentences but put time or invest time in a diagram or a map। ସେଠି compromise କରିବେ କିନ୍ତୁ ଏଠି compromise କରିବେ।
ଆଜ୍ଞା ସାର୍।
So that the answer becomes complete। ଯଦି ଏ ଯାକ କରୁନାହାନ୍ତି ଆଉ requirement ଦେଖଉଛି question ରେ ତାହେଲେ your question is evaluated at 80% level। ମାନେ 10 ମାର୍କର କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନ ରେ ମନେ କରନ୍ତୁ ଆପଣ ଗୋଟେ ଡାଇଗ୍ରାମ କି ମ୍ୟାପ ଟେ ଫିଗର କଣ ଗୋଟେ ଦିଟା ରଖିବା କଥା ରଖିନାହାନ୍ତି, ତାମାନେ କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନ ର ଆନ୍ସର କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନ ର ସେଠି ଭ୍ୟାଲୁଏସନ 8 ମାର୍କରୁ ଆରମ୍ଭ ହେବ। 2 ମାର୍କ ରହିଗଲା ଖାଲି ଆପଣଙ୍କର ମାର୍କ ଯେହେତୁ କରିନାହାନ୍ତି। ତ 8 ମାର୍କରୁ ଆପଣ ଯଦି 4 ମାର୍କ ହେଇଗଲା ତାହେଲେ ଆପଣଙ୍କର ହେଇଗଲା 40%। 10 ମାର୍କରୁ ଯଦି 5 ମାର୍କ ହେଇଥାନ୍ତା ତାହେଲେ 50% ହେଇଥାନ୍ତା। ତେଣୁ ଏଇ ଡିଫରେନ୍ସ ଆସେ। ତେଣୁ ପ୍ଲିଜ ଡୋଣ୍ଟ ଫରଗେଟ୍ ଟୁ ୟୁଜ ମ୍ୟାପ୍ସ ଆଣ୍ଡ ଡାଇଗ୍ରାମ୍ସ ଏଜ ଆଣ୍ଡ ହ୍ୱେନ୍ ରିକ୍ୱାର୍ଡ।
ଆଜ୍ଞା ସାର୍।
ସାର୍ ଟିକେ ପର୍ସନାଲି ଇଣ୍ଟରାକ୍ଟ କରିବାର ଥିଲା, କେବେ ସାର୍ ଦେଖା ହେଇପାରିବ ଟିକେ?
ପର୍ସନାଲି କୋଉଠି ଦେଖା କରିବେ?
ସାର୍ ମୁଁ ତ ଭୁବନେଶ୍ୱର ଅଛି ସାର୍, କୋଉଠି ଆପଣଙ୍କୁ ଦେଖା କରିପାରିବି?
ଭୁବନେଶ୍ୱର
ଆପଣ ଫ୍ରି
ରହୁଛନ୍ତି?
ଟାଇମ୍ ଥିବେ?
ମୁଁ ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ଭୁବନେଶ୍ୱରରେ ନାହିଁ,
ଆଚ୍ଛା
ବାଙ୍ଗାଲୋରରେ
ସାର୍।
ଅଛି। ଏବେ ବାଙ୍ଗାଲୋରରେ ଅଛି। ମୁଁ ଫେରିବି ଯାଇ
ଆଜ୍ଞା।
ଜୁନ ମାସରେ ଫେରିବି।
ଆଚ୍ଛା ସାର୍।
ତେଣୁ ଯଦି ହବ ସେତିକି ବେଳକୁ ଯଦି କିଛି ଦରକାର ଥିବ, କଣ ପାଇଁ ଯଦି ଦରକାର ଥିବ କହିବେ, ମତେ ଫୋନ କରିବେ କି କହିବେ ଆଉ।
ସାର୍ ନମ୍ବରଟା ଟିକେ ଦେବେ ସାର୍?
ନମ୍ବର ରଖିବେ ଯଦି ରଖନ୍ତୁ 94373
ଆଜ୍ଞା
02280।
ଆଜ୍ଞା ସାର୍, ଥ୍ୟାଙ୍କ ୟୁ। ନମସ୍କାର ସାର୍।
ହଁ ନମସ୍କାର। ଦେଖିବେ ଟିକେ କନସିୟସଲି ଟିକେ ଟାଇମ ଦେଖିକି ଫୋନ କରିବେ। ନର୍ମାଲ ଟାଇମରେ ଏଇ ପାଖାପାଖି ମିଡ ଡେ ପାଖାପାଖି କରିବେ। ହଁ ଓକେ
ସାର୍।
ଓକେ ଠିକ ଅଛି ତାହେଲେ ଆଜି ଏତିକିରେ ରଖିବା। ବଟ୍ ଆଇ ୱିଲ୍ ରିକ୍ୱେଷ୍ଟ ଅଲ୍ ଆୱାର participating students to be little more interactive। କ୍ୱେଶ୍ଚିନ ପଚାରିଲେ ଭଲ ଲାଗିବ, ମନୋଟନ ହେଇଯାଉଛି ନହେଲେ। ମାନେ ଏମିତି ଖାଲି କାଉନସିଲିଂ ସେସନ ଇଜ ଏ ଇଣ୍ଟରାକ୍ଟିଭ ସେସନ। କାଉନସିଲିଂ ସେସନ is not a lecture session where the lecture is delivered and somebody is there to listen। It's not that type of session। So more important is asu kimba no asu, you must learn how to ask questions and interact with the persons, the counselors। ତ ସେଇଟା ହେବା ଦରକାର ନିହାତି। This is very important for you। କାହିଁକିନା ଏଇ 4ଟା ସେସନ ମନେ କରନ୍ତୁ ଆଇ ଆମ୍ ଆଭେଲେବଲ, ତାପରେ ତ ଆଉ ନାହିଁ ନା, ଆଇ ଆମ୍ ନଟ୍ ଆଭେଲେବଲ। ତେଣୁ ଆପଣ ଏଇ ସବଜେକ୍ଟ ବିଷୟରେ ଆଉ କିଛି କାହାକୁ ପଚାରି ପାରିବେନି, ନୋ ବଡି ଇଜ ଆଭେଲେବଲ। ସେମିତି ଯୋଉମାନେ ଆସିବେ ଅନ୍ୟମାନେ ବି ସିଏ ବି ସେମିତି ତାଙ୍କ 3-4ଟା ସେସନ ସାରି ଦେଇ ପଳେଇବେ, ତାପରେ ଦେନ୍ ୟୁ ଆର୍ नो ୱେର୍। ତେଣୁ ଟିକେ କ୍ୱିକଲି ଯାହା ଦେଖିବା କଥା ଜଷ୍ଟ ଗୋ ଥ୍ରୁ ଦି ଲିଟରେଚର୍ସ ଆଭେଲେବଲ। ମୁଁ ତ ଭାବୁଛି ବୋଧେ ଆପଣମାନଙ୍କୁ ସବୁ ଲିଙ୍କ ଦିଆହେଇଥିବ ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ଷ୍ଟଡି ମେଟେରିଆଲ ଡାଉନଲୋଡ କରିବା ପାଇଁ along with the mail ଦେଇଥିବେ ସେମାନେ। ତେଣୁ ଡାଉନଲୋଡ କରିକି ମେଟେରିଆଲ ଦେଖିଦିଅନ୍ତୁ। ଟିକେ ଦେଖିଦେଲା ପରେ ଆଇ ଥିଙ୍କ ୟୁ ୱିଲ୍ ବି convinced to go through and scan through the chapters and may make your mind to ask some of the questions। Okay, ରଖୁଛି ତାହେଲେ। should we stop it here? Okay
ସାର୍